Okay. I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. Welcome to the Street Epistemology call-in show. I'm going to guess. Oh, Quayd. I pointed right. Yay. I have Quayd here, and I have Lisa here with me to take your
Hello.
calls, talk to you about whatever you'd like. And you can be right, in that slot.
I'll scoot over.
And we'll just like a little game. And we'd love to speak to you. Let's see. The StreamYard link should be in the chat. I'm going to post it again just to make sure, because I don't know how these things work. So I just do it too much. Quayd, how's your day?
Going pretty good.
Cool. Lisa?
Good. Pretty great. Like it's a Saturday.
It's a Saturday. Yeah.
And it's hot outside, and I am inside with an air conditioner. Yay.
Yay. Fantastic. Okay, so today is call-in show day. I don't really have another topic tied in. We just came out of a meeting where we were talking about microphones and video and what sort of processing with this. It was all so very tech. My head is spinning with details and XLR cables and weird stuff like that. But here, we can just talk about street epistemology.
So what do you think people should call in with today? Like, if they're thinking about calling,
I want medium claims.
Medium claims?
I want claims where they're not really highly invested in it, because that means that they're probably more likely to move. If this is something that your job depends on, or your relationship, you'd break up with your exclusive other partner thing over it with. Let's not talk about those at the first off. Let's talk about medium claims, and then a really low claim would be like something trivial you don't care about at all. And I'm willing to talk to you about that, but it's boring.
I agree.
I think for now I'm still on the extreme claims bent, so I'll take any extreme
claims. We'll put to Quayd. I'll take extreme claims, and Lisa, you can choose whatever you want.
Yeah, the ones you're very passionate about. I just did an SE. I just had an SE conversation, which I'll put on my channel soon. But it was on free will, and there was a confidence shift, which was really interesting.
Nice.
But I had stepped outside of the SE role.
To do what?
I gave her a fact.
How'd that go?
Okay.
I brought up the Benjamin Libet experiment on.
Not familiar with that.
So it's like, the idea is that they'll monitor your brain, and they'll have you make just a simple decision, like raise your left or right hand.
Oh.
And they will monitor when your brain signals what you're going to do, because your brain will signal whether or not you're going to move your left or right hand. And then they'll have you watch a clock and kind of clock when you consciously make the decision, and your brain signals up to a second to 2 seconds before which one you were going to do. And so there are variations of that. There's like a video that I could post, but of a person who plays a game of, okay, let me guess which hand you're going to raise, and they can, with like 80% certainty, know which hand you're going to raise before you raise it, before you're consciously aware that that's what you're going to do.
Okay.
And it works. It works to like a high degree. And so this has implications in some of the conversations on free will, in terms of, some people, especially the person that I was talking to, sees consciousness as integral to this idea of free will. But it seems that your unconscious is really in control there and making that decision in some way. Keeping in mind, it's still only accurate to a certain degree. I think the Benjamin Libet experiment was like 87%. And then when the person actually did it where they were playing a game, and they said, okay, well, I know this person's going to raise the right hand, so I'll raise my right hand, and then they're accurate. That was around 80%.
Okay.
So you brought that up to the person you were talking to?
Yes, and that lowered their confidence in free will.
That's interesting, because it doesn't move me at all.
Yeah.
It doesn't move me at all. I think it doesn't move Jim Bob at all. Jim Bob has some messaging, says it was debunked. Okay. If you have details, you're certainly welcome to call in and tell us about its debunking. In this case, the SE rules don't apply. You're allowed to message on this show if you want to. We'll try not to if we're doing SE with you.
Do keep in mind, though, that that's not the only experiment that's been done on that. That is, the Benjamin Libet is just one of dozens and dozens of people to do variations of that. And, you know, I will say that Benjamin Libet doesn't come to the conclusions that a lot of people come to. So he doesn't necessarily think it completely debunks free will. Lots of philosophers and neuroscientists know about it and don't think it does that.
I'm even confused why a time delay or a recognition that our consciousness is smeared over several seconds affects the question of free will. Okay, I'm a slow, wet robot. Is it not? Am I not still freely choosing which hand? I see myself 2-3 seconds in the future or the past or something, because it takes that long for me to think.
Yeah, I think, again, it goes down to this idea. We tend to associate the idea of free will with being aware of what we're doing. And so if we're not aware of the decision we're going to make, at least in the capacity that we think.
Hey, Yeti B, hold up 4 fingers for me. Yeti B, can you hear me? Please hold up 4 fingers for me.
Uh-oh.
Here.
Okay, well, let's give it a try. Hello, Yeti B. How are you?
Hi.
Hello.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, my volume is super low. 1 second.
Okay. Cool.
Is the echo gone? I think there was an echo.
Echo would be real common if you were watching it on YouTube and then coming in at the same time. It's the standard Pine Creek thing. Please close the other
window.
You know, make it all happen. So, Yeti B, can you hear us? Yeti B, do you hear us through your new ears?
Yes, I just have a bit of a delay.
Okay. Cool. And are you listening to us through the YouTube or the StreamYard? That much of a delay is going to impact our ability to communicate. So
I'm actually having to listen to the YouTube.
Okay. So we will consider that you're in a slightly different time zone. Not very different, just slightly. Do you have a thing that you'd like to talk to us about?
East Coast, yeah.
Is it possible to call back on the StreamYard?
I'll pop him out until and I'll keep monitoring in the green. Let's talk amongst ourselves while he works out his stuff.
So I have a question about free will. If we're on that still, what does it matter really if we have free will or not? Like, don't we still live our lives kind of as if we do?
I think it has
our own decisions.
There are studies showing, and there are conflicting studies here, but there are studies showing that it impacts how readily people empathize with others.
Really?
Yes.
In what way?
So somebody who, and again, there are conflicting studies here, but like, so for instance, in one study, we got Yeti back, so maybe we'll share that.
Come back to that later.
Keep talking. I'm not sure he can hear us.
All right.
There you go.
I can hear you good now.
Good.
That's better.
I had a claim.
Yes.
I was wondering if it was going. So it's a nutritional claim, right? It's something that is, I would say, to me, looks like a lot of ideology, right?
Nutritional claim
being that nutritional science is like two different. There's a randomized controlled trial science. very hard science. And then there's an epidemiological side, right? Where it's a lot of questionnaires, correlational data. So.
Okay. So maybe they have a lot more data and its quality is a lot less confidence?
It's very, very poor.
Okay.
And they'll make a claim on science. They'll make a claim on health and nutrition through these very, very poor aspects of science, right? So my claim being fiber is contraindicated for a human diet.
Oh, so fiber is contraindicated. So it has negative net benefit, maybe?
Yes.
Okay. Fiber has negative net benefit. We can go ahead, Lisa.
How does this claim affect your life, or
this claim would affect everyone that eats their lives.
You personally?
The claim would be a personal for every human being on the planet.
Does it change your behavior believing this claim?
Yes.
Okay. So if you were to lose this belief, your life would be completely different.
I wouldn't, if I lose this belief, I wouldn't practice the belief. And to lose the belief, my life would be the new belief, right, that I replace this one with.
Mm-hmm.
The right one, right, if I'm proven wrong, would benefit my life more. So I don't, like,
so
if I believe fiber was actually good
better
for me, then I would just use fiber.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Right? It's either a yes or a no. So I will go with yes.
All right. Dali, you seem to have opinions on this. Do you want to ask?
Yeah, I'm going to try to ignore that I might have any opinions about it to the degree that I can, and just ask the interested questions. So what, I guess, how have you always thought so? Is this something you've come to recently? Okay. What changed your mind, and how long ago was that? Oh, compound question. I should
probably a medical condition. Constituted by too much fiber, I would believe.
Okay. So you started suffering
the illness of constipation, right?
Right.
The unable to pass stool. That would be the time that my body said, okay, well,
also known as the Senate
disease. being of poor level to where you don't really have that health insurance or whatever. You kind of have to, like, oh, is it emergency room worthy?
Right.
Do I want to pay that extra amount for going to the emergency room? Yeah. So then you start to, like, look up online, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you have a good amount, like, I'm not saying, like, everybody can't be fooled by what they find, but if you have, like, a research type of mind, okay, well, this says this, but let's get to the root cause. Let's keep digging.
Mm-hmm.
You get to the root cause of constipation is always fiber. It's always bulk.
Can I interrupt for a second and ask what specifically is the claim? And I'll type it out.
That you don't need fiber to live healthy. It's contraindicated. The more fiber, the more damage you do. Okay. Because you can correlate from the 80s, fiber heavy diets in diet books and magazines and media.
Mm-hmm.
With we can correlate it right with colorectal cancer.
So we don't need to eat fiber to be healthy.
Higher fiber correlates with higher colorectal cancer.
Yep.
Is that right? Okay.
The rates of death. It's a correlation. It's not causation. I'm not saying I can't directly say fiber causes.
Yeah. So do you have any data as
the
to
amount of has risen with the amount of sales in fiber.
Okay. So sales of fiber. Well, I guess sales is probably correlated with consumption. I doubt that we're buying it and tossing it.
Well, we can. What would your respectable percentage be of the total sale tossage? Like we'll say the tear on total bought fiber.
I don't even know how much.
15, 20, half.
I don't know.
Half of all fiber that's been bought has been thrown away.
Oh no, I would say I'm just going to assume.
Because even if we go with half, that's still a pretty hard. That's more correlation than red meat.
Yeah. I'm going to assume that most of it's eaten. That generally we would avoid wasting food on purpose.
Is there any livestock that you would feed fiber to? I know nothing about feeding livestock, so it's shot in the dark.
The closest thing to livestock to being the same digestional system is maybe the pig. But they also have a pretty large cecum, and cecum is used to ferment fiber. Ours is called an appendix now, because we developed eating high fat, high protein, not fiber. There's not a lot of fat, a lot of fiber in a woolly mammoth.
Do you have any evidence or input as to what a minimum amount of fiber that's healthy could be? Is there a lower bound below which you start having a different problem?
I mean, define healthy, right? Because like cocaine, right? You can do cocaine to a certain amount and it's not going to do anything to you like physically.
Physiologically.
Yeah.
I had a friend
not really
considered her primary measurement of health whether she avoided diarrhea. I don't think that was a good choice. I think that was looking at things through too narrow a keyhole. But for her, to avoid diarrhea meant she was healthy. I imagine for her,
but
she's
then
gonna,
again, her body was having diarrhea for a reason, right?
Okay.
Because all right, for this is a theory, right? A lot of the people that have either A, flush toxin, or B, they had too much fat in their meal, or they're having a problem where the body realizes they've had too much cholesterol and it dumps it through bile, because bile is 60-something% cholesterol. Bile salt.
Okay. So it produces
made from cholesterol. So it's like the body can dump cholesterol that is not needed.
Okay. I am amused. I'm clicking the wrong thing. Yes. Daniel is impressed that we're having a conversation about constipation, and cool. Yes, SE is flexible. Indeed. Thank you for bringing this.
Well, we can even move to the
sure.
What is fiber, right?
Sure.
That was going to be my question.
Mm-hmm.
So fiber is a non-energy based carbohydrate.
What does that mean?
That's where you can define it as
can't get calories out of?
No. They actually pull. That's why fruit is so good, because fruit has lots of fiber, and fiber helps limit the absorption of fructose. That's why fruit is not the same as high fructose corn. There's no fructose. So fiber is used, and that was the market back in the 80s to market fiber, high fiber diets, is you can eat the calories with the fiber, and it traps fiber as it pulls it out of your system.
Is that bad for you also?
Well, the way fiber is moved through the digestive is the same way as fat with bile salts, but it's from stretching, where fat is from a chemical activation. So you're stretching all. That's why there's this such thing as megacolon. When somebody has too much, they move too much fiber through their colon, and it stretches. That's why they don't prescribe Metamucil to elderly people to keep them regular, because it can actually do harm.
Oh, okay. So too much fiber leads to a distended lower intestine. Then is that what I'm getting?
The more fiber you use, the more you'll have to use.
Yeah. Daniel, I think Daniel is suggesting that the offset to fiber is water. If you do enough water, you can get rid of the negative associations of fiber. I think that's what I'm getting from Daniel.
Do you mean like to pass through the small intestine and not be trapped and like pulled into the kidneys, flushed through the kidney? The water gets flushed through kidneys and the bladder. There's no water that's going to, unless you basically food poison yourself to where then it's flushing everything and the kidneys will actually stop filtering.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
The liver dumps bile right into the small intestine when it feels like you poison yourself.
Yeah, I'm thinking about the water moving in and out of the large intestine and the colon. In any case, this is the detail down way below. So
I do want to.
I mean, I'm sure you can biohack to not suffer the damage of fiber to make it very fast transit.
Are you saying we should have no fiber in our diets?
You could. I mean, I once suggest that we evolved that way as hunter-gatherers, eating berries. Berries have very little fiber in them. Okay. Berries, if you eat the nut has very little fiber. And then
so not no fiber, but very little fiber then? Is that still the
I mean, during survival you would eat those, maybe one time a year.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I mean, even tubers, right? They've known that cavemen will dig up tubers to survive. I mean, a tuber was mostly fiber and starch.
Yeah, we haven't gotten into this yet, but just to keep it a little SC, like how confident are you in the claim?
Pretty confident.
Let's say from like 0 to 100%.
100%.
100%.
Well, if you look, the only randomized controlled trial on constipation, which is the only bowel kind of randomized control that's been done, all the rest of it's epidemiology. The only randomized, it was on transit time, right? And the people that were in the least category of fiber, which is no fiber, had the best. Fiber. Yeah.
So, I assume you have almost no fiber in your diet, right?
No, for the last 3.5 years, I've eaten nothing but beef, so I have had no fiber, and I don't have a problem.
I have so imagine that I have an outsider. This is an outsider test for fiber. An outsider who says if you don't have fiber, you will be constipated. Do you find yourself constipated?
No, I've never. Okay. So I mean, it depends, right? A constipation nowadays, they redefine constipation as you haven't pooped in 24 hours.
Oh,
that's constipation. It's not. The old definition was discharge or incomfortability.
I see.
You had pain or you were bleeding. That would have been the only complaint of constipation. Not, hey, I haven't gone in.
Clarity. They've lowered the bar to just irregular, not following on a schedule. All right.
Do you think a person could still be healthy and not constipated and have irregular bowel movements and be a vegetarian or not eat primarily meat products?
Well, that's the thing is You can. I mean, it depends. Like, live healthy till when? Till you're sick? Till you have
to your equal level.
IBS or celiac or one of the lower digestional diseases.
Do you think those are guaranteed outcomes?
Well, you see the rise now, right? Men 45 have to be checked for colorectal cancer because by the time they wait till 50, they're already in stage 4.
And you tie that directly to a high fiber diet?
Well, you could correlate it.
Mm-hmm.
I can't tie it directly. It's a good correlation because, like, even if you look at the food pyramid, if you look at food sale, beef has gone down, chicken's gone up, and pork has gone down, while cereal grains has gone up 900% since colorectal was like recorded in the U.S. database under illnesses. It's been slowly going up. It's never plateaued. When we switched their diets in the 70s and people were eating more carbohydrates and less fat and protein, it's continued to climb even higher, faster.
Could this
So
be due
with the advent of more fiber, you see more rectal diseases?
I'm wondering if this could be due to some other things that have changed in the same time period, like, for instance, processed foods.
Processed foods are mostly fiber.
Okay. Yes. But there's also
unless it's margarine
too. Correct. You can also have processed meats. So could it be that is it possible that it's not necessarily fiber or not just fiber, but that there's other things influencing that? So
you said processed meat. What's the problem with processed meat? The nitrate salts?
I think, and I'm not like a meat packager, but it's the fact that it has to, that it goes through a lot of different processes.
The problem with that is you don't see juice people that juice their vegetables. They don't have a problem with the rectal cancer, and they juice a lot of celery. And celery has the highest amount of nitrate salt in it than any piece of processed. You could eat 5 pounds of processed meat and eat 1 ounce of celery and get the same amount of nitrates. It's called celery powder that they use on the processed meat. So if the nitrates were a bad thing in processed food, then everybody that had a celery juice cleanse would feel awful.
Is that the only thing that happens to meat while it's being processed?
What would happen to it?
I'm just asking if you know.
I do. The thing is I know the study that they're referring to, that nitrates in processed meat, it's a correlational study. They did a questionnaire on people that had colorectal cancer, and they happened to eat meat that was processed. Not that, hey, we stuffed these people with processed meat and then they had colorectal cancer. It's like, oh yeah, I remembered that I had 3 cups of ribs the other day, or last month or last year, whatever they extrapolate the study out.
Okay. Yeti B, I have a question. Is that okay? What could you learn or discover new in the future that would change your mind, that would bring your confidence level down? Yeah, Gina.
Like a study. They would come out with like a human study where they would lock people in a ward.
They can't do that, can they?
They can if they have volunteers.
Okay.
They have enough people to volunteer. We'll say 25. That's a good enough starting point. Mm-hmm. And one group gets a high fiber and the other group gets the low fiber, and we'll see who catch constipation, and has problems. Let everybody have celiac. And then you do a group that has celiac. You do a group that has IBS. And you'll see the people with less fiber will do better. When you have, all right, this is already a protocol for anybody that has stomach surgery, whether you're getting a section of colon taken out or intestines or whatever. The diet they put you on is a 0 residue diet. It is called like meat, whatever, eggs. You can eat some type of like broth, bone broth. Oh, well, let's go ahead and open the factory back up and we'll start jamming stuff. No, it's eat the lowest residue possible. Same thing with Dr. Robert Salisbury, that invented the Salisbury steak. He cured hundreds of thousands of soldiers that were suffering from celiac and other digestional issues by just feeding Salisbury steak. That is meat ground down with all the gristle taken out and just the gravy, the fat.
Is your measure of health regular bowel movements? Like what if you're just measuring health by regular bowel movements and regular not being constipated? What if you have high energy, you feel good, you're sleeping great, but you don't have a bowel movement for 36 hours, so it's over the 24-hour threshold.
You didn't eat enough food?
You feel fantastic otherwise.
You didn't eat enough food.
But you feel great. Does it matter?
Yeah, you would still feel great. Like I could fast for 3 or 4 days and still feel great.
You can say, I feel healthy, I feel well, and do that long term even.
I've gone, like when I've done a 7-day fast, after 3 days, I stopped pooping. So that's 4 days without poop.
Okay.
I'm not putting anything in. I've taken my diet to try to because I've lost a lot of weight, trying to pull my skin in. I'd eat low protein.
Okay.
And I'd eat a good amount of fat, but I eat low protein, and then
what about for somebody else? Somebody else's measure. I mean, that's great for you.
I mean, somebody else is going to be depending on their level of digestive problems. We're about 98% physically our bodies are the same, 98%. Right. That's why science.
But if somebody is on a high fiber diet and they have no
deviation besides blood type,
no digestive issues, high fiber diet, feel great, feel healthy, feel on top of the game.
That's
fine. Are you saying they're not as healthy?
I wouldn't say that. I mean, health is something that we have until we don't. Right? There's no
Right.
Are we measuring in a month? Do I feel like shit when I take a dump 2 times, 3 times? Do I measure it? When do I become not healthy? When the days outweigh in a month, 50. If I go more than 15 days, I'm not healthy.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of self-reported, right?
Okay. Right. I mean, at what point do we
out of this conversation?
I do have another question as well.
I'm not trying to be either. I'm just saying.
So could this be individual dependent? So could this be based on individual genetics or circumstances that might dictate how much fiber?
Absolutely.
Is okay. So then,
I mean,
so then the claim
the plural to anecdote is data, right?
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's anecdote is can be a type of data, can be a type of information. Yeah.
Right. But it's my life. If I'm telling you, she said, fiber all her life, high fiber diet, good to go. Me, I've been doing experiment, 0 fiber, good to go. Those are those are anecdotes. But you put enough together, enough people are going, there I go.
So just to revisit the claim really quick, because originally you said you don't need fiber to be healthy. Did you just mean I as Yeti B? I as Yeti B don't need fiber to be healthy.
That's all I can make the definitive claim, but my belief is that everybody eventually, whether you're 35, 55, or 85, your digestional tract will fail.
But can that
fiber
be genetic
will be the least thing that they prescribe you.
Okay. Yeah, I was just back to the conversation about being dependent on individual genetics. Can that vary? And then also, can we then say that it might not be true for everybody? we can't say generally we don't need fiber, but maybe you don't need fiber, or there are people who don't need fiber, but it might be independent on genetics. And
yes, but we're talking about because like some people, right, will live to their 85 and they'll tell you for the last 20 years my hip has been hurting, or like they've been ready to go. So like I've talked to some elderly people that have been ready to go for 10 years. They're like any day now. Right. So are we talking about health, like in wellness, or are we talking about like just, hey, I feel
longevity.
good? Or are we talking about like you can live to your 90 without any risk to colorectal, any disease?
I think we're talking about rectal disease. We're talking about a constellation of things, yeah, including longevity, how you feel, how well your movement is, your diseases. I think all of those are going to be concomitant. All of those are going to be lumped together in this thing we call health. I think. Would you agree with that, or would you say it's one thing specifically, or a couple things?
Well, in the individual sense, yes, absolutely. When it comes down to just you. But when we're talking about the entire race of humans, that's what I said. Like it's contraindicated to humans. So it's doing more harm than some people are allowed to. Like there's some people that grew up under power lines that have no health problems. That doesn't mean the majority of people that were born under the power line are good to go. So therefore, the power line is still bad, right? There's plenty of people that smoke cigarettes till they're 80, but we know that cigarettes are bad.
We
don't have to do that study.
Yeah, there are people who live to a very old age that smoked their whole lives. Yeah, that is true. And I think that goes to the idea of genetics, that genetics can determine sometimes some of these things. That can be hard for us to understand.
I would argue that the genetics determine the fact whether you don't die, because normal people die.
Yeah.
So you're the outlier. If you don't die at 65 from smoking for 40 years, you're the outlier. It's like the 600-pound, 700-pound man that doesn't have heart disease and diabetes. He's the outlier. Because normal people can be 10 pounds overweight, catch diabetes.
Yeah.
That's normal 60, I think it's 70% of the US population is insulin resistant on their way to type 2 diabetes. 72%. That's a huge number.
Yeah.
That means their A1C is above 5.5.
Would you recommend for those people to cut fiber?
So what I'm saying is people are slowly killing themselves and they feel good.
Ah, okay. So
they're on their way to sudden death or a stage 4 cancer.
Feeling then with our health?
Yeah, long term. You've seen what it does since the 80s. Because like if you can remember back, if anybody wants to pull up any magazine cutting from the 50s or before that says, hey, high fiber diet, eat plenty of your fiber. No, it wasn't until the 80s. And now colorectal cancer since then has gone up like 5 times. It's like 5x.
So I think I've got a handle on
it's a skyrocket
on the kind of data that would move you and how you've come to this. What sort of studies and information that you're liking. So is there anything else that I need to know? I've heard the claim, I've heard your data.
Yep.
Is there any questions that I failed to ask, or we failed to ask?
Yeah, like I would ask a question, just one, like what is your where do you get your fiber information from? Like where does your fiber come from? The belief that it's going to help me.
So that's what we should have asked you.
No, you could ask. No, I would ask you. I would ask either one of you that.
I didn't make any claims about fiber.
I just
I was
listened
just
to
saying,
a
like,
body of dietitians and doctors.
oh, so from another, like,
Mhm.
not something you read, but something you heard.
Yeah, I mean, I might do a little bit of reading, but mostly I listen to medical professionals.
So, okay, I was just because, like, I'm the I don't know if it's just me, but I don't really trust in like somebody like me telling me something. I go and I'll listen to them, and then I'll go and look it up to be like, okay, yeah, does this make sense?
Yeah. My own rationale is I assume that a body of people can do far more research than I can do by myself, because there are hundreds of thousands of pieces of data and studies that have been done, and I can't digest all that myself. So I will do some myself, but I mostly leave it to the people who've like made a career out of it and do it like they spend their whole lives doing it. I have a heuristic that it seems to me that they would reach a better conclusion collectively than I would on my own.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I've been reading a lot of studies. I learned to read studies on YouTube. Like I went and found somebody like, hey, what does this mean? What does this mean? And I learned what's like. I went and started digging for like probably about a couple of weeks, and I found a good study. And it's like you find something that's really, really solid, and then you start even the new shit. The new stuff coming out is just recycled old stuff that's, it's nothing since then has been. So it's like you said, it would take a good study that I can be like, huh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. I'm taking sources that are very similar to yours, and I have come to an almost similar position where my understanding is that I can use fiber to regulate my poo, and if I don't, it doesn't hurt me. So I eat a salad a day because I like it, and I'm good with that. I don't need more, and I don't eat any fruit.
And I took a 400 level nutrition class a few years ago at in college level, and I go based on the information I learned there in the textbooks and the studies and the recent information, as well as how I feel. I feel better when I eat a lot of fruit. So for me, I go by how I feel. And when I eat a balanced diet, I do eat meats as well. So I don't go extreme one way or another. So that's where I get my information.
And within the last year, I've learned to incorporate my morning blood sugar as part of my goals and working out my diet.
I'd be curious to know, to like how do you liking that?
Controlling my diet based on trying to manage my blood sugar, is that the part?
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm maybe 2 months into where I'm eating 2 meals a day, and I'm trying to have a 300 to 500 calorie deficit, and I'm losing about the weight of a half a stick of butter a day, and that's working. And I am surprised at how tolerant I am of not being hungry once I cut out all snacking. I think what was happening was I was so used to reaching for a handful of mixed nuts, or I had a bunch of things that I thought were, like decent foods to snack on. And what it was doing, it was resetting my hunger cycle, and I was hungry all the time. And now I'm eating these 2 meals a day, and I'll stop eating at 5 p.m. and I won't eat again till 10 the next morning, and it's fine. I'm not hurting.
Great.
That's awesome. And fructose will make you hungry.
Yeah, and I've gotten my my blood sugar down to very consistent numbers that are about 80 below where they were, and I'm happy with those numbers.
That's good.
The weight loss.
You test right when you wake up?
Pretty much.
Have you ever heard of the dawn effect?
I think you're saying that blood sugar spikes after the dawn. I get
Your
up.
blood sugar spikes right after you wake up. It's a physiological response to being able to get you up and to be able to run as soon as you wake up.
Yeah. When I say
so,
just
it's exercise level blood sugar.
So I think I'm up for at least 30 minutes, if not 90 minutes, before I poke myself in the
Yeah. Because some people, depending on the metabolic dysfunction, could be high for at least 2 to 3 hours. You would tell it because a normal blood sugar should be about 101 to 110.
Yeah. I can totally see that spike in my mornings, and
that's so you can get up and haul ass if you need to.
The height of that
that's
spike,
what our ancestors would do. They would
move down,
sleep in a cave, and then run.
Thank you, Yeti B.
Thanks for all the poop talk. It's been great.
Likewise.
Have a good day.
Be well.
You as well.
Bye.
Okay. That was fun, and I think Daniel might be right that was a bit of a first, and fine, completely within SE.
Sure. That's what we want.
I love medium claims. It's good stuff.
Yeah, that was a good medium claim, wasn't it? That was a good. I mean, he did seem very passionate about it, so I guess there's this discussion of what is a medium claim, because he seemed, had a high degree of certainty, and it seemed to really affect his life. Mm-hmm. But it would generally, if we heard that, we would consider it, I think, a medium claim. It's not religious or what we consider highly contentious or controversial in modern society.
And if he changed his mind, I bet it wouldn't change his financial outlook. He's not selling a thing. He's not going to get fired from a job.
Yeah, I was wondering about that at first. Like, is he selling a supplement or pushing a movement or something?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Sorry for the wording there.
Oh, yeah, that's okay. As Daniel mentions, SE is a movement. Yes. Yeah. SE is a movement. Kind of.
So you're running mostly on ketones. Yeah, I've tried a bunch of different diets myself, and the healthiest, I'm not at all the healthiest I've been now, because I had a seizure, and that makes it really, so I broke my shoulder, so I didn't have a way to move my body for a really long time and effectively. But when I was my healthiest, I was just following a balanced diet, and that was the best shape that I've ever been in.
Yeah, and I find like exercise in general, regardless of what I eat, if I eat trash 24/7, but I still exercise, I feel a lot better, which isn't ideal. But, self-reported healthiness level.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I have way too high a standard for trusting medical sources, just because I've known them to be wrong and stay wrong for decades on a bunch of different things. And so I'm grumpy about doctors who tell me to believe things for bad reasons. So unfortunately, I know my standard is too high, and I can't seem to believe things past it.
I said I think they should be like 7 reliable, and then I'll I don't know. There's not really a way to measure. I think I tend to trust medical individuals that trust other medical individuals and not just themselves. Like, they're really open to being incorrect. And they want to know what other experts like them think, not just what they think themselves. That's
knowing the consensus of opinion does count highly with me. That one's good. Even if you think it's wrong, if you know what it is, and then if you think it's wrong and you can explain why, okay, that's interesting too.
Yep.
Promoting an idea. I think
we need a reset.
We need a reset. And I'll answer. Promoting an idea. I think if somebody's job is to sell a thing that they are very invested in, it makes a difference on whether a claim is a medium or a large claim. Now, whether it's a good claim or an appropriate claim, it's more like I expect claims with high investment to have a high resistance. It's sort of like it's very difficult for someone to believe to learn a new thing if their job relies upon them not learning a new thing. That's a little pejorative, but that's sorry.
Just really quick, I'm going to put my email in the comments. because I figured this would be a good place to do it. If anybody does want to do SE individually and you want time to speak, there's several people here with channels, and you can get their emails, and I'm sure they would be happy to speak with you. But I in particular will speak for myself and say that I am. So if you contact me at that email and you want to make a claim, we can set up a meeting.
What's the name of your channel, Quayd?
What's your argument?
And how can people find it?
It's just on YouTube. If you just put in "What's your argument," it will happen. But you can email me to set up the meeting. So my email name is different from my YouTube channel.
Cool. Good self-promotion. We like that. We need more of that. So, like and subscribe or something. I don't know what.
Do all the things you're supposed to do.
Yeah, do the things with the buttons and the stuff, because I don't need to tell you that. Although I can tell you that you can click on that link, StreamYard link, and come join us, talk to us. We're going to be waiting for someone to call in. Tell me things. You were telling me about the nutrition, and is there more to what you learned in the nutrition about stuff?
Oh, it's been a couple of years since I took the class, but I tend, maybe this is bad epistemology, but I tend to believe or put more weight on stuff I read in a college textbook than I do when I Google something or look on YouTube, even though they're very convincing. So, and the professor I had for that class was amazing, and she worked as a nutritionist for 20 years before she went into teaching. So I feel like she has a lot of experience, and I put a lot of weight in that, and she collaborates. She's on a team with other nutritionists, and they discuss the modern American diet and the foods we have available in our area and just how they affect us. And it's pretty interesting to see the differences in cultures and the diets that we have and how different levels of healthiness are based on different diets and just how different things affect you. It's so complicated, and I don't think there's just one right way or wrong way or right diet that is going to make you live to 140 and be able to run marathons.
I agree with that.
So
I think that there is some studies, which I'm sure this will get some contention, and I'm interested in, and I won't make a strong claim about it all, but the blue zones and Mediterranean diets, there seems to be some correlation with longevity and health there. But I heavily agree with you that it's independent. A lot of it comes down to what your specific genetics are and what you need as an individual, and you're better off working with medical professionals and sorting it out yourself and doing.
And the other thing is personal freedom. What if I want to eat crap food every day, all day, and that's what makes me happy, and I'm okay dying at 55? I'm willing to take that risk. I realize it's
a good episode of House around that.
Should I tell you how you should eat? Because I don't know, I have an issue with that too.
Yeah, there's an episode of House where he has a very obese patient who loves food, and House is just so stern about no, you have to change your lifestyle, and he's food makes me happy, and I'm gonna do it. And yeah, freedom is important. I think freedom is important to well-being. What do you do if you have an individual that they're just going to be so anxious and miserable their whole life? Eating stuff that they don't want to eat.
What if that guy starts on a healthy diet, loses a bunch of weight, and he's in a good range, but he's depressed? Yep. And he misses his yummy, tasty treats every day.
And they harm themselves, or it's just there's different ways to measure health here, and the mental aspect is.
So it gets complicated.
Yeah.
Indeed, complicated questions. So. It's a good thing that we have a whole lot of people trying a whole bunch of things. So we'll learn something maybe. And the plural of anecdote, I do not agree is data, but it approaches the data maybe asymptotically. No, I don't know.
I think I view anecdote as just a type of data. There's anecdotes aren't the only type of data. So
Mhm.
that's one problem.
Yeah.
Anecdote is just a type of data to me, and yeah, if you accumulate it, you can get somewhere, but you can also run a controlled study, and those aren't anecdotes necessarily.
Right.
That's information. We're talking about something different.
Yeah, when we can control for variables and things, then it matters. The
If you're
structure is much better at that point.
If you're having someone take a supplement and you're measuring your health, you don't need to know what their story is or how they experience that situation necessarily. You can just monitor their health or their reactions.
Okay. So I want medium claims. Quayd wants tough claims. If you're really, really into it and you're absolutely certain, then you should talk to Quayd. Yeah, and Lisa gets whatever she wants.
I'll take whatever.
Also,
I'm happy to talk about meetup groups as well. That's kind of my thing lately.
Tell me what's going on with your meetup group?
Yeah, so
I know that Daniel met up with you. I heard that one. Tell me about that.
Yeah, he did. He came to our meeting last Saturday, and we had about 12, 13, 14 people there, and we had some really interesting conversations, and it was really cool. I wrote on 3x5 cards a bunch of just single words that are prompts. And so some of the videos on my, I say video, but they're audio recordings, are from that meeting. So Daniel's in one of those, and he talks about believing in God, but also Santa Claus was one of the prompt claims. And a woman made a claim that we shouldn't lie to our kids about Santa Claus. So that was an interesting conversation. So the meetups are really fun and a really good, like, low pressure way to practice street epistemology. And just, it gives people opportunity to just think about the questions that they would ask. And if they get stuck, they say, I'm not sure what to ask. Anybody have any feedback or any, help me out here. So if you have a meetup group in your area and you want to learn and practice and get better, I strongly encourage it. And I'm going to be working on putting together maybe like some kind of packet or something that will help people start meetup groups too. So,
do you have plans to podcast any of your stuff?
I don't. It would be better as a podcast. I just want somebody else to do that for me.
YouTube is so easy.
Yeah, it's just so convenient. Yeah. I haven't dived on it.
Okay. Go.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. I haven't thought of that one yet. A meetup.
Yeah, it's not for everybody.
I don't know if there would be enough people in my area is the thing that I would be concerned about. There are a lot of like free thought groups and atheist groups that I've been to, and I just end up not staying there.
What city are you in?
I'm in Ohio, and I'm in Southern Ohio. So, but who knows? Maybe. I haven't tried it, so how would I know?
Yeah, I had no idea. I'll throw it out there, see what happens, see if anybody shows up.
Earlier today, Rosemary added a new book to her reading list that she thinks is interesting for SE: Language versus Reality, Why Language is Good for Lawyers and Bad for Scientists. That sounds very interesting to me. That's right. If you would come and give us a book report, that would be cool. I'd love to know about that book.
Do you have any hypothesis on why that would be, Dali?
Why language is good for lawyers and bad for scientists? Yes, because I think our language really loves things like logic. I think the what do you call it? The law of identity. A thing can be itself, but not itself, and not the same, with the difference and it's kind of a binary looking at things. And I think it's really just about definitions of terms. I don't think it actually applies in actual reality. I can't generalize it because then I have to throw out quantum superposition. So that I think our language leads us to binary hard definitions, but anything that actually describes reality tends to do so on a gradient with nuance.
I'm thinking about this from a religious perspective, from my old religious days. And a lot of the leaders of my former religion are attorneys. So the way they word things makes a difference. The words they leave out of statements can be very misleading and then possibly emotionally charge certain subjects, whereas maybe in the scientific community, they're just like, here's the facts, or here's what we've come up with so far. So
yeah,
I think that's interesting.
I think that, like, when we're talking about language, it's related to the subject. Like, how do you engage in language without subjects? And that is antithetical to science, where in some capacities, whereas that's a pro for a lawyer who is trying to create a story and a narrative to persuade people.
It's so persuasive.
Yeah.
I see a Steve in the oh, okay, Steve left. Never mind. But if you want to come back and show a video, please hold up pie fingers. Okay. Rosemary says that it's all about persuasion. That's maybe about language. Language is all about persuasion. I have been told, and I find it compelling, that every utterance I make is actually net to affect somebody else's behavior. So, yeah.
Fascinating.
Oh, did Steve leave?
Yeah, Steve left. I never saw a video of Steve, so I don't actually know if Steve was an actual person willing to represent themselves. But hey, if you come back.
Might have been an accidental click on.
Could have been. Being a live stream, I want to be very careful not to get porned. So,
I didn't even think about that. Oh my gosh.
That happened some number of weeks back, and I've just been careful since then.
What happens if that makes it on air? Like,
if we cut it off pretty quick, I don't think it matters much.
If you leave it on and
if we
entertain the idea,
or if it were to happen really often, I bet it would cause community guideline strikes.
I hope we're not giving anybody ideas here. So
they don't need my help. People who will do that come up with that on their own. Gorgeous says that the binary aspect may have more to do with our thoughts than our language as a causal factor. That's their sense of it anyway. Yeah.
Lisa, I was going to say earlier with the free will topic. I'll go ahead and reveal my bias so nobody think like I'm a compatibilist, so I'm both free will and determinist myself.
Cool.
But there are some studies showing that people who didn't believe in free will, and I think ultimately for me it comes down to what you mean when you say free will, which can be a different conversation, but people were more likely to empathize with people's circumstances when they didn't believe in free will. But there's other studies showing almost the opposite, that people who were deterministic were more likely to absolve their own behaviors of judging people. And so that's hard, but there does seem to be some relationship between what people mean when they say free will and how they treat people.
I was determined to believe that your own blood was on your own hands.
Yeah.
So people who believe in free will are less likely to be empathetic to other situations because they chose that, whatever their situation is?
Again, the studies are pointing to pretty much opposite. So people who don't believe in free will, there's some studies showing that people who don't believe in free will were more likely to empathize with people's circumstances because they said, well, they don't have free will, so they couldn't have really chose anything different. But then there are other studies showing that people who didn't believe in free will were more likely to absolve their judgmental behavior. So they didn't believe in free will, they were determinists. They were more likely to say, well, me judging people is okay because I can't really choose not to. That's who I am. And so it seems that there's studies showing that it can increase empathy and decrease sympathy. And it might ultimately come down to what those people have in their mind when they say free will is what I would imagine it comes down to.
Gorgeous asks, isn't Calvinism a deterministic belief system? To my understanding, yes. Does anybody have any other thoughts on that?
I don't know enough about it.
I think that's my impression too, but
yeah, I think one of the ideas of Calvinism is that God, from the beginning of time, made things exactly as they are, and knows exactly what's going to happen in every case, which certainly kind of requires determinism, or at least divinely maintained determinism, at least one of those. Mm. Can the language we use cause us to believe false things? Can we come to believe true things by changing our language about it? From Robert Hamilton. I can think of trivial examples that would make me believe false things because of the way I use language.
I need to hear an example.
Okay.
Steve's got some the Ring stuff going on right now. There's some
Steve's video looks funny. I don't know what's going on with it. So
some horror movie theatrics there. Can the language we use cause us to believe false things? So I like an example that I would think is that I could be wrong about this, Robert, but like if you have the wrong idea of what evolution is, right? So you believe evolution to be something that it's actually not in terms of what the science indicates, then you can say, I believe in evolution, but believing in something that's false because you've defined evolution in an incorrect way. Is that maybe one idea there?
House of Comments says advertising, which I think in many cases would attempt to tell us something that is a thin truth, getting us to believe a thick lie. Using language in a way that creates a false impression.
Would straight up lying about a topic be using language to get people to believe something false?
That might work too. Yeah. Sorry. Morphological retrocausality. Wow, what a name. Neuroscience of free will, a part of neurophilosophy, is the study of topics related to free will, volition, and sense of agency using neuroscience. Very fun topic. Sounds like it is a very fun topic.
Yeah, I studied that my master's program. It was really interesting to see all the different perspectives, and I used to be a pretty hard determinist, and I changed my mind and actually through the process of study on that. So,
so you're less hard determinist, you're soft determinist, or lesser?
I'm a compatibilist, but I do believe in a very specific type of free will that is not close to what people usually mean when they say free will. It's certainly not libertarian free will. So there's like this idea of libertarian free will, which is it doesn't matter what the physics or chemistry or biology is. You can always choose something different than what the physics. I don't even see how that's possible. It seems to me that I should be able to like levitate and stuff or something. I should be able to counteract the physics of a situation if I had libertarian free will. But a lot of people who are libertarian free willists are also religious, so maybe they think, well, you could pray if you've prayed hard, or you could fly if you prayed hard enough or something. I don't know.
Does Neo from the Matrix have libertarian free will?
I don't even think he has it, but he has. I think he's closer to it. Yeah,
he's closer. Okay.
I think that's what I used to be. I didn't know what that terminology exactly meant, but I think that's where I was 6 or 7 years ago. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I thought all things are possible with God. So yeah, that would suspend physics or chemistry or in natural law.
Oh, you had me till the end. Listening to hyperbolic language on a topic, if we do not volitionally reject it, can sway our emotions. If accepted and pondered, can sway our position. That was revealed to me in a dream. Oh, we were doing so good until that last bit. that last one does not fit within my acceptable epistemologies.
It doesn't mean it's wrong.
I agree. That doesn't mean it's wrong. It just stops being a good reason to believe it's correct. No, but I think I've actually heard that other stuff from other directions, so I'll ignore that last bit.
Well, he may have gotten a good argument in his dream, which it would to me would be different.
Oh.
You could give yourself your brain could give yourself a good argument in a dream, I could imagine, and you would come to accept it, and I would say that was acceptable.
Gina asks, is there a difference between believing in free will and someone who doesn't believe in it but acts as if it exists?
That's a question for Jordan Peterson, I think.
Okay. I'm glad to know that the dream part was a joke. House of Comments says physics means nothing without God, and I think physics is spelled differently, so it might be jargon. And okay, physics means nothing without God.
Is that stand for something? The acronym?
If it directly relates to physics, physics is the absence of nothingness. Physics is the stuff that is that everything is the made of, and the does, and the pushing and the pulling. So the one thing physics can't talk about is the nothing. So who knows about where it all came from? If it came from nothing, physics doesn't know.
I think maybe it's it's like those things that like it's an intentional misspelling to kind of mock the expression that's normal there.
Sarcasm.
Yeah.
House of Comments.
Yep.
Thank you, Inspiring Reflection.
Yeah. We're going for the heavy branding experience here. Just covering so you can't see the rest of my basement. Just cover it with t-shirts.
Yeah, I'd show you my feet. I have that tattooed on my feet too, but I don't think that would be appropriate.
Really?
Yeah, I got it tattooed on my feet. So every time I look down, I just see that.
Street Epistemology or what's
that would be... Don't panic.
Don't panic.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any Street Epistemology tattoos that you guys know of? I've never seen one. Somebody should get one though.
I haven't seen one.
I don't do it. I don't want to encourage anybody to do it.
Yeah. David Hume rejects your statement that somebody should.
Because if this isn't a thing in like 10 years, we're gonna be like, oh, we just or maybe we'll if we have like what's the word? I can't even think. If we have like a gathering, what's the word I'm trying to like a conference? We have a conference. Maybe we could have a tattoo artist there and brand us.
Sure.
Brand.
Yeah.
like the Nexium brands.
The Nexium.
Like the hot poker on the.
Yeah. Right on the
shows
forehead.
Your commitment and your dedication to the group.
Oh yeah. Got to be pretty high on the confidence scale.
Oh, that's a good. That's a good point.
Indeed.
How high would you have to be?
Oh, anybody, including Steve, who wants to call back if his cell phone is not broken. Jump on in with StreamYard. We'd love to see your face, hear your voice, talk to you about stuff, listen to you out. Going full NXIVM.
Oh, what number is that?
It's Nexium. That's the Nexium.
Oh,
okay. Nexium cult. Oh boy. A tattoo with a QR code.
That's dedication.
Yep.
Yeah.
I could almost do that. A tattoo with a QR code. That's all the way.
Or you could get business cards. I don't know. Just brainstorming.
Yeah, business cards probably better off, especially if they like update the QR code standards and stuff. They have to get lasered and relasered and unlasered and delasered and be so much laser.
Yeah, they're getting pretty good at that. I saw a video of somebody getting rid of a tattoo, and it was very smooth. It was so smooth.
The process? The removal process?
Yeah.
How does it work? I mean, what are they doing?
So they're actually Yeah, because we looked this up after because I had a disagreement with my SO on it because I thought that maybe they were just like denaturing the proteins in some way, and then there was a healing process. And there is heat involved, but basically what it's doing is it's breaking up the ink particles, which allows your immune system to remove it. It allows your white blood cells to go and actually remove that ink.
And it's doing it by a cooking process, raising its temperature up to some critical value, or is it?
That's a good guess. That's a good guess. I don't know the full process because I'm not. I don't do it myself or anything. But
okay, who's first? Which one of us wants to explain SE to a stranger?
I'll go first because I do this a lot in my meetup groups because there's new people every time, and a lot of people find street epistemology from meetup, and they've never really heard of it before, but they thought, well, this sounds interesting. What is it exactly? So I usually describe it as trying to find the how, what, or the what, why, and how of a belief. And we just ask questions to discover what that is and to hopefully help them understand their belief a little bit better. It's my one sentence description.
Okay, Quayd, you or me?
Go ahead.
Hi, I'd like to have a discussion with you about any topic you choose. Anything you want is fine. I'd love it to be something that you think is probably true, and allow me to ask you questions about the reasons you think it's true, and all the way down to the reasons for the reasons for the reasons, down to your epistemologies. And that's what that epistemology thing means. It's just how do we come to knowledge? And that's what I'm interested in. I promise to try real hard to not push back and argue from a different place or push back. I want to hear you out completely. And I'm the most interested in how people think. Got 15 minutes?
That's good, because I usually add, though, and it's not a debate in there too. So
yeah,
good reminder. Yeah.
I will add, so I guess mine is that SE is a way of exploring claims and reasons that a person has for those claims, and asking critical questions about the reasons in a civil, cordial manner or polite manner.
Cool. So, inspire reflection. How do you explain what street epistemology is to a stranger? You could call in and tell us, or maybe later.
I think he's going to object to. I think I used the word "way" in there. I think Will's going to object to that one.
To way in WAY or WEIGH?
WAY.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do we each think is the biggest misunderstanding of street epistemology?
I think it's the word epistemology scares a lot of people off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because most people don't know what that means. So it's kind of intimidating, and they'll just be like, I don't know what that is. Let's move on.
Yeah. That is the cost of using a word that is otherwise almost only academic jargon.
Mm-hmm.
I think it actually intimidates even people. Like I can't, like I work at colleges, and I don't think I can use that word without someone thinking I'm like pedantic or something.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a huge problem.
Tingle Muffin says that they watch people's eyes glaze over every time they say it.
Yes. And I wish it really had a different name, because I don't like that. And I feel like it limits a lot of people. And I know it limited me in the beginning because I had no idea. Like, I kept hearing the term street epistemology being thrown around. And I was like, that's too many syllables and I don't know anything about philosophy. It sounds like a philosophy thing. And it was like a hurdle I had to overcome. Eventually I Googled it because it kept coming up in my world. I'm like, I got to figure this out. But it was certainly intimidating to me a couple of years ago.
That's kind of I do like the aspect of, I've noticed that when I bring it up to people, a certain number of them will look up the word epistemology, and that's actually what I like, when they look up the word and they're like, oh, I didn't know this thing. And I think that puts them on it put me on a track, and I think it's put some other people on a track to actually thinking about the complexities there. So that's what I would say is a pro of using the word, but I still agree with you, Lisa.
I just try to keep it really simple when I'm explaining it, because I don't know where they're coming from, what their background is. So I assume this is their first time hearing it. And I try to be really approachable and friendly and non-judgmental about it.
Instead of street epistemology, maybe it would fit if we were to say casual social doxastic voluntarism.
There you go.
Yeah, way simpler.
Yeah, maybe not. Rip asks, what does the word belief in terms of SE? I think it's probably, what does belief mean, or how does a street epistemologist see the word belief?
Claim.
Yeah, pretty close to that for me.
Okay, claim. All right. Yeah, I'm gonna go with whatever that is that they claim. Could be the thing, or
an idea you have of what's true.
Idea.
Yeah, it just
opinion
comes down to,
sometimes.
you have a doxastic position on the thing. If you are completely agnostic about the thing, you don't believe one way or the other. You don't have any belief about it. If you are gnostic about a thing, claim to know it, that's something you believe. But I think I'm just throwing synonyms at you at that point.
Yeah, I'm gonna highlight this one, because I do say that not to persuade us, but yeah, interlocutor, I agree, for me is problematic, and I think conversation partner does work better.
I never use the word interlocutor.
Yeah,
SE or an IL, that sort of internal jargon. Sometimes I'll use the word claimant and interviewer, because at least it's understood. Whereas conversation partner applies to both of you. But then again, so does interlocutor. So why have we chosen that to mean the one thing and not the other person? Of course, when I'm asking the questions, I'm interlocuting.
Yep.
I'm part of this social intercourse.
And a lot of times it is just a conversation, and it's not necessarily strict SE. You might throw in some SE type questions, but definitely it's a conversation first. In my opinion, when I try to do it, it's conversation first, street epistemology second.
Yeah, I've advocated pretty heavily for that change, but we've unfortunately used it so much in material and stuff that it's going to be, I think it might end up changing, but it's just going to be a lot of work to change that. I think it's the biggest problem. Yeah,
as long as we have good, understandable synonyms that are out there, anybody who gets stuck on the word can just use one they prefer. And we won't be confused, hopefully. Gina, who is definitely one of our SEers, says belief is something we hold as true.
I like that one.
Good, simple one. Yeah, I like that.
I also like doing claims. Like, I do this with my kids a lot, where they'll say, I don't know what I should do next in life. So they'll have, like, what are your options? Okay, well, I just graduated high school. I should probably go to college. So I had this conversation with my 18-year-old just recently. So you could use SE techniques for a claim, like to help sway one way, just to figure out your own thoughts and ideas on a possible claim that you don't know how you feel about yet. I think that can be interesting direction for it to go as well.
Yeah, who should do the dishes tonight? Do it as simple as that.
I believe it's you.
Yeah. Because I don't want to.
I'm busy. Yeah.
That's something that goes strangely well in our house. All of us are willing to do dishes. And so if dishes have piled up, we can kind of tell that somebody's out of it. Okay, fine. Fix that. But no, ever since we got rid of a particular renter who would never, ever do her own dishes, it's been all great. And it's not that we do it alone. We leave them for other people, and then we get it and we do it, and it's fine.
This sounds very adult. Reasonable.
Yeah.
Oh, up to a point. I have an unreasonable part. I look at the way we arrange things in our cupboards, and the system doesn't make sense to me. I can barely remember where things are, and it's just and every time I want to go put away the dishes, I want to fix the system and I get stuck. And so I wash more dishes and ask others to put more of them away from the dryer thing, and they're okay with that. Oh yeah, empty the dryer thing. Maybe the dryer thing will be full, so the dishes aren't done. They clean the dryer thing, the dishes get all done. Boom.
None of the people there are 12 years old, are they?
Oh, good. He held up 5 fingers at least.
Hey, Will.
Hello, William.
Hello.
I can hear you. Now I can hear you.
Haven't heard enough of me today. Awesome. I just wanted to ask the question that I posed in chat, but then I think it got missed, and I thought I'd use my magic link privileges to get in and ask, because I think it's a really good question, and it's one that I think Lisa and I have spoken about before, which is how we talked about like how you individually explain what street epistemology is, but how might you explain what street epistemology is to a 5-year-old? How would you break down the idea of what street epistemology is to somebody who is just 5 years old? Because I think the answer to that question is really, really fun. It's a great exercise.
I love your answer to this question.
These ideas.
What's yours, Will?
Well, wait. But also, I did ask actually specifically. I did ask in my question that Dali answered the question first. If you're up for that challenge, Dali.
Yeah, I'm up for any challenge. Sure.
Oh, awesome. So yes, how would you explain what street epistemology was to a 5-year-old?
Oh, okay. Let me just imagine a 5-year-old. Gosh, I'm kind of thinking about the example I have is I'm not remembering his channel name. He did a thing with his kids where he was asking them what they thought was true and started exploring what was fiction versus what was reality. Does the frog really talk? And
Eddie.
Yeah. Eddie, yeah, from Deep Discussions, Eddie. And that's my really good example of doing SE with somebody who's very young. I guess the SE is really just the same with maybe lower expectations about their language. So, I'd like to ask you a bunch of questions about what you think. And different than usual, I'm not going to tell you what I think. I want to know why you think what you think and not push back with you're wrong or you should think me. You should think like me. Because I want to learn how you think. That's it.
Why would that not be a better way of explaining it to an adult, do you think?
I think adults expect somewhat more complex language, or they think they're being talked down to. If they think I'm giving the example for a 5-year-old and they don't see any 5-year-olds in the room, then they might think that I think that they're sophisticated like a 5-year-old.
But literally, it's the same
ask
thing.
Your confidence in that claim.
I know that my social skills absolutely suck, and I don't have great confidence in my prediction about other people's stuff. So low, only moderate, like 1 sigma.
I'm just going to call out. So one of the challenges I have here is that I think whenever I've joined StreamYard recently, there's been a big delay. So I'm going to apologize if I'm talking over the top of anybody here. There definitely seems to be a huge somehow delay going on, and I do not know what's causing it.
Your sound is well behind your video.
Yeah, Lisa,
in real time. If I go like that,
right?
Boom. Yeah.
About 2 seconds.
Wow.
I have no idea why it's causing it.
It's odd.
But I'm both a future and past entity.
You should move to America.
I won't. That is always the answer to everything, isn't it? So yes, Quayd and Lisa, like, how would you explain what street epistemology was to a 5-year-old?
Yeah, I've actually done this. So I talk to kids sometimes, and I just say, I'd like to ask you some questions about why you think this is true. And that's period, end of sentence.
Yeah, I mean, that seems simple
Right.
enough.
Cool.
This might be bad form, SE, but I might not even explain it to them. Like, they may just, like, if they were to ask me, like, what's SE or, street, and then they'll probably mispronounce epistemology, which is fine. But I would just say, oh, it's a way of having a conversation. Do you want to do it? Like, I would probably do it by example in that case.
Yeah, that's cool. I think maybe we might want to distinguish between how would we invite a 5-year-old to participate in a street epistemology conversation, and how might we explain what street epistemology was to a 5-year-old. So that's probably my fault for sort of phrasing it incorrectly. So I kind of like thinking about how would we explain what street epistemology was to a 5-year-old rather than invite them into the conversation. Would that change anybody's answer?
So if I'm out somewhere and I'm wearing this shirt and a little kid says, "What's that?"
Right.
Yeah. I'd say, I have a YouTube channel. I start with a YouTube channel because they know what that is.
Oh, yeah.
And I talk to people about what they believe. That's probably what I would say.
Yeah, I think the answers at that point, I would change my answer. If I had to describe street epistemology, it would be along the lines of what Lisa and Dali had said.
And I would be immediately looking for their parent and guardian for a consent along with the kid's consent before any. Well, actually, I think I need to get the parents' consent before I even ask the kid, before I even invite it.
For sure.
Yeah. One of my favorite videos is the one where Reed is talking to the young lad, and just the initial kind of fear and shock and sort of uncertainty that he expressed, which is quite emotive for Reed. If anybody's ever seen his content, there's a lot of emotion going on there. But yeah, Reed did a great job, I think, of checking in with the parents and things, and checking with the guardians and stuff. And yeah, that was really good. So my thoughts on this were just like, I like the idea of reframing it as helpful questions. Like, I like to ask helpful questions, because to me that gets across the sense that the reason I'm asking these questions is to help you. It's not normally when people ask questions, it's because they want to know something. But I think the idea of helpful questions is a really easy to understand concept, and I think you could encourage a 5-year-old to learn how to ask helpful questions. How can I ask a question that's going to help this person understand what they think?
Is William getting progressively
really
quieter?
I don't see
anybody else.
Yes.
Am I getting worse? Oh my god.
Yeah, I wasn't sure at first, but it sounds like you're just ever so slightly getting more quiet.
Yes. Thinbox asks, what if a 5-year-old asks you what SE is while you're in a strip club? And I would say, I'm a little busy right now. I need to call you back later.
There's other issues to address.
I'm relieved to find that the 5-year-old is calling you, like he's on the phone. Like,
he's not there.
That's the only way I can bring them into the scene.
Good work, sir. That was masterly done. Well, listen, I'm clearly having technical issues, so I'm gonna drop off. But
okay.
Yeah, I really love this question. I think it's great, and I think thinking about how we explain things to 5-year-olds is just a fantastic exercise. If we can boil it down to its simplest possible form and have a 5-year-old understand it, I really do think it's worth thinking about whether or not we shouldn't just use that phraseology in general life, make things simpler, not more complex. And yeah, I think it's a great fun exercise. So anyway, thanks for the time, guys. Really appreciate it. Keep up the good work.
Agreed.
Thank you.
Thanks, William.
Great question. One thing that I don't like. Yeah, go ahead, Dali.
Go ahead, you first.
One thing that I think is interesting about that whole thing was, it's like the answers are correct, but it makes me feel like it makes no sense to call it street epistemology at that point. Like, you could just say, because people ask questions about what people believe all the time, and there's nothing particular about that warrants a label street epistemology.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one thing I thought was interesting.
I've framed it using the word interview as well, so that assumes there's a little more than conversation. But that's a good point.
Well, we'd love for you to make a claim, or you can ask us to make a claim. Do we think that SE could pave a path to human utopia?
I'm going to say no.
Yeah, I don't think SE is nearly that powerful. I think SE is slightly better than nothing in terms of communicating and changing minds, and might be really good at taking people from polar extremes and allowing them to communicate across barriers. That might be necessary for utopia, but it might be a necessary but not a sufficient condition to get to utopia.
What do you think, Lisa?
I don't think a utopia would exist or could exist, but it could make some people's lives better when they learn how to ask better questions. That's kind of all I'm hoping for.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. I think it can improve things. I can't imagine what utopia is like, so I don't know if SC could get us there. But
I'm working hard on imagining what utopia is like. I'm working on a fiction series that is a utopia in the classic sense.
All the world's problems are solved, and everyone cooperates and works together.
Only just a little better than now. Only just a little better than now. It's every problem that we have still exists. Just, war is a little less scary, and children are all more wanted. And there are much fewer unwanted children, and parenting is better, and that kind of thing. Bunch of stuff in there, but Socratic questioning and being able to think things out and hear each other out is fundamental to the social structure.
And I think, at least for me, it's been the best part about learning street epistemology is the ability I have to have better understanding and listening skills, and just turn on my curiosity mode and try to figure out why this person thinks how they think, rather than dismissing them or thinking they're wrong, but being able to entertain lots of different ideas. So that keeps me motivated to help other people develop that skill.
Yeah, I like the term interview. I think it's generally not scary where I live, but in England, where they have euphemism creep, because everybody's so very careful about their laws about saying bad things about people, defamation. Like, now we have euphemisms, like they're all feeling very comfortable. I don't know what the euphemisms are for, like, drunk, and now even those euphemisms become needing euphemisms because of legal concerns. So interview can sound like you're helping the police with their inquiries. Yes, but only in euphemism creep land. We don't have any of that here, do we?
I haven't come across that at all yet. Maybe someday.
Yeah, because I was thinking, I mean, interview can also imply that you are going to ask critical questions, which I think is good too. Because that's
interview is a scary word. Okay.
Yeah, it would have been for me several years ago as well. I would never have consented to any kind of interview. It's just too much pressure, too much spotlight on me, too much focus on my thoughts and my words. I wouldn't have done that. Terrifying.
Yeah. Epistemic interviews in France. Yeah, and they don't even reference the street at all. Taking the street right out of street epistemology. That's fine.
Yeah, I like
street
that.
Is not the important part. It's just a modifier.
Do we prefer conversation then for that reason over interview?
Over interview? To make it global?
Make it sound like it doesn't necessarily have to just be focused on that person too.
Well, you look at the popularity of interview shows on TV, late night interview shows. Like, it's people get that concept. Like, I'm going to ask you questions about your life, and you're going to tell me about all your things. And
yeah,
I think it's just so common.
I don't want people to be completely comfortable. I want them to be slightly on an edge. I'm kind of okay with putting somebody on the spot a little bit, as long as rapport can stand it.
And that's the problem with the idea of utopia for me too, is that in utopia, if it were really to be utopia, to me, there could be no growth because there would be nothing to change to. There has to be the conflict with the change. And so even if people are getting along, maybe we could define utopia that way, just people getting along. Maybe that's achievable. But in order for you to change yourself, you would have to recognize you're wrong in some way, which is going to create some internal sense of discomfort. At least normally I can't. Maybe that's not necessary, but I think it is for now.
Isn't there always a percentage of people that are going to take advantage of other people, going to be manipulative? Like that's part of human nature and humankind. There's always that percentage who don't mind lying and manipulating to get their way.
There has been so far. That's the answer.
Oh, the utopia would be eliminated.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, there has been up to now.
To be a true utopia.
Yeah. So mine is such a fake utopia. The one that I'm talking about, it's only better. It's not fixed. It's just, some stuff is better.
Yeah. So are the other ones. Like I think, like who was the first, like the utopia, like one of the first ones ever written, right? Still had like slavery in it and all this other stuff.
Oh, are we talking about?
Not a utopia for everyone, then.
I was reading that with the book club. I think
still bore like
Jeannie would know the one. I read up until chapter 7, and I just couldn't go any further. Aldous Huxley, is that the one we're thinking of?
Well, he had. I don't know if he wrote a utopia. He wrote A Brave New World, which is
that's the one.
Depicted as a utopia.
To me, it was depicted as a utopia. To me, it was a horrible dystopia.
Yeah. I think that's kind of the point, too.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, that's not a good example of a utopia. Yeah, I couldn't get past chapter 7. It was just like...
No, I think this was a Greek. A Greek wrote this. It was a long time ago that someone actually wrote utopia, and we would not at all view that as utopia. So.
Yeah.
Could it be a utopia for some, but not others? Would that still be considered a utopia?
Sure.
I wouldn't.
Like, could you have a community, a utopian community?
Yeah.
There's that whole idea of like, in order for utopia to exist, there has to be exploitation. I'm not saying that's true, but there's that idea. So that's something else to think about. Yeah. Some people might view America as a utopia and say that we're doing that. We can only do that based on an exploitation, so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely need to define utopia.
I look at the historical Mormonism stuff that they tried to do the New Order or something, I think it was called, where everyone, and that was their utopia here in Zion. Yeah. Where everyone's beliefs are the same, we all treat each other as equals, etc.
Sir Thomas More, that is. I think it's been written several times, though, but one is Thomas More.
Okay. Cool. Let me see if I can invite an additional anybody.
We still have time to call.
Still have time for like one other caller. Earlier, I saw Gina say this. I might be pulling this out of context. Of course, Gina, you are so welcome to jump in. If you meant come talk to us, yes. If you meant talk to us later, yes. Whatever works. Near unlimited resources.
Yeah, it kind of seems that's ingrained in us, is the idea of being dissatisfied and then trying to fulfill that satisfaction, which is kind of not what dissatisfaction is against the idea of utopia. It's not usually what people think of when they think of utopia.
In my utopia, every person is granted a minimum of 50 kilowatts of life support.
I don't know what that means.
Okay.
Sign me up. I don't know what it means either, but it sounds great.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
most of that goes into the farms to make the food.
Oh,
the lights in the farms take up the majority of any particular person's 50 kilowatt allowance.
Yeah, all at once. That was kind of my thought. It's like, are we about to be executed? Is that where this is going?
Is it high fiber food?
A lot of it, sure. In my utopia, they eat less meat than I do. So,
cool.
Yeah, I think what's his name? Vermin Supreme, right? Everybody gets a free pony.
Yes,
that's my idea. Utopia.
Everybody gets a free pony.
Yeah, he was running for president. Okay. And that's his platform. Is that everybody gets a free pony?
Everybody gets a free pony. Oh boy.
Yeah.
He's got the under 12 thing.
Yeah, he's got the under 12 demographic.
Yeah. Oh, hey. So, what would be? Where would you fit about lowering the voting age from 18 down to pick a number?
I think if anything, I'd be for. I don't know. I probably shouldn't talk about this.
Can we talk about raising the voting age as well? Changing the voting age?
Sure, you can talk about raising the voting age, but I think Quayd is having to step out because professional obligations would something.
No, I'm gonna say whatever I'm gonna say. I know I'm probably gonna be wrong on, because my instinct would be to increase the age.
Okay.
But I understand that would cause.
That was my thought as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Cool. All right. And if this is one of those things where it could influence your life, it hardly matters.
Mm-hmm.
I only mean, not that whether we change the voting age, I think that would matter, but what we say about it on this show, not going to have any important impact. I don't think we're going to start a new thing.
I just learned about something. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but it's something like epistemic democracy. I'll have to look it up. But that is the idea, I think, that really only people who demonstrate a certain level of understanding have a say in things.
Okay.
And that idea appeals to me, though it is highly problematic still.
Yeah. It seems like a really great idea until I study the history.
Exactly.
And then it freaks me out down in my pants.
Yeah.
Super complicated.
Yeah, super complicated and apparently open to a bunch of corruption potential.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Qualifying tests. Who sets the tests and grants you the right to vote? Seems that's about open to abuse. Exactly. Exactly the problem. Partial votes.
Half a vote.
Okay.
Oh yeah, we could do I don't think anybody's mentioned it yet, but we have what, first past the post, and it seems that
this one's a lot easier. Would you prefer we stay with the first past the post system, or would you want something more like representative or single transferable vote or any of the other?
What's the one where you have choice rank voting? I think.
Yeah, choice rank voting. That and like single transferable vote go together in ways where you don't end up having a deadlock between the two that can win and nobody else can do anything except try to change the subject.
Yeah.
Ranked choice voting. Yeah. I've looked at the math on that kind of thing, and I'm convinced it's stable and usable and doable and fair. And so, wow, am I saying a whole bunch of things?
I am as well.
I need to learn more about that. I don't know much.
Yeah, they're playing it in the UK a bit. They're doing stuff in UK elections, and I think we could learn a lot from how they're managing it. Not that they're necessarily achieving a much better result, but
yeah, it seems like a better system though when it's just like, at least you're not getting the person that you absolutely don't want. You're getting your second or third choice. You might not be getting your first, but you may be getting your second or third choice.
Yeah.
I think people could be much more content with that.
I would be so much less annoyed at candidates I otherwise would like splitting the vote on my side. That's just icky. Yeah.
Well, I do have the solution to find out if it's a good idea or not. So there's this. It has all the answers.
Gotcha.
And this is, it will tell you if it's a good idea or not.
Okay. Is there a magnet in that device?
No, it's just superpowers.
Okay, so there could be a magnet in that device if I put one in.
There may or may not be.
Don't be such a skeptic.
The world.
Okay. It's landed on.
There is magnets.
Yes.
It landed on
yes.
It's right
okay,
here.
Good.
So that's.
Let's do it.
Yeah. It's
like
official.
All
Does
decisions
that come with
should
a
be
Bluetooth?
And I asked it if it's ever wrong, and it said definitely not.
Oh, okay.
Well, that's how you know.
Yeah. So
No,
it's always
no.
right. So
Okay.
there you go. Problem solved.
Thank you for that. Now we know.
If we could have an artificial intelligence make all the decisions, what would we think about that? Is that just like a really complicated 8-ball, or?
This is actually in my book, so I'm having a hard time thinking outside of that particular box. And as it turns out, the AI operates off a set of heuristics or fixed rules, which are a bit like a constitution, and makes the executive choices. And those heuristics are overridable by a proportionally larger and larger fraction of the people. Some things require a 2/3 majority to override them. Some a 4/5, some a 9/10. Nothing's worse than 9/10. But in one of the stories, somebody wants to do something that's crazy heroic, and to get permission, he has to get a 9/10 of a sample, and it comes down to one kid gets to decide, which is fun.
Right.
So this is the book you're writing.
Yeah.
Right?
It's a book I'm writing. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. When will this be available for people to read?
Sometime.
Who knows? Who knows? I have
in the future.
I have about 3 or 4 books that are in my head. I have one that's complete that I got done back in 2018.
What publishing venues are you? Don't know.
I'm not any good at that.
Yeah.
Right now that book is waiting for me to learn some of my editing tools better, so that I can then get a table read done by people with the proper accents, because for plot reasons there are no Americans in it. So I need
that does sound like Utopia,
because it's a utopia.
Yeah.
No, actually that one
It's a different one.
That one's written back in 1964 to 1968 is the time frame for that one. Yeah. Oh, CK, just notice the background image with all the gravitational lensing coming from the
Jason, or
the double Hubble.
Yeah, the Webb. Why can't I remember the
James Webb Space Telescope?
James Webb, yeah. I said Jason Webb. It's Jason Webb now.
It's Jason Webb. Oh, okay.
No, yeah.
Is that because James Webb was a jerk?
Yeah.
Okay.
His lesser known brother.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go with Jason.
Did all the work and didn't get any of the credit.
Indeed.
We have any more callers? So we're getting low on time.
Yeah.
Finbox says that I had a question. I'm not sure if I had a question or somebody else had a question. I'm not clear. Anyway, if there's a question, happy to look at it.
Did you have a question, Dali?
I don't remember one.
I don't know if I have a question, but I am interested, just because it's been talked about recently, the idea of Google's AI, and that one person saying that it was, or maybe even a handful of people saying that it was conscious, that it was a conscious entity now.
Define conscious.
I can't do it.
Are my pets conscious?
My guess would be yes. That would be my guess.
Yeah, it needs a definition. What makes something conscious or not conscious?
It's really slippery.
Yeah.
By some definitions, I'm going to say yes, and by some definitions, I'm going to say no. But I don't know.
I think self-awareness has to do with a certain level of consciousness, some type of reflective mechanism in our brain, maybe, where we can be aware of the results of fired neurons and even fire some of those same neurons over, or maybe a concept of self. There's a certain configuration of neurons in our brain that are related to a concept of self, maybe.
So we have a model with ego in it?
Yeah, something like that.
So a self-driving car is conscious?
Could be. I mean, if you talk to
by that definition.
Yeah, by that definition.
Michio Kaku, right?
It has an ego. It knows where its fenders are.
Yeah, he's going to say a thermostat. A thermostat is a very small unit of consciousness. I don't know. I really don't.
Yeah. Thermostat is, for me, the simplest definition of robot. It has a sensor and makes a change in the world that is an intelligent decision. Knows what to do in the right time.
Can it choose otherwise?
No, it has no free will.
Yeah, I'd agree with Tingle Muffin. I think consciousness, my impression of it is that it is a spectrum, or that they're. But it's difficult because it's it is hard to define. Yeah, transistor.
So transistor, relay, yes, those are. This might be the question. It was about magic solving the question in a world where supernatural works. Dali had a question.
Oh.
Am I conscious?
This is entertaining, but I don't understand it, so I'm sorry. Thank you for your comment.
Dali has lots of questions.
Sure.
Right. Yeah. That might be a good question right there.
Am I a conscious thing when in a coma?
Could ask somebody who was in a coma and then came out of it. Are you conscious when you're asleep?
Can you think you're conscious and not be conscious?
You can have thought you were conscious and not have been conscious. Because I know for myself, I can easily fill in what happened in a dream and then recognize that I was just telling a story after and forming those recollections on request, not necessarily in the other. It's the same problem with like near-death experience evidence. It's really, really hard to nail down when they actually had the experience as opposed to the recall process.
Right.
Can I currently be thinking without being conscious? And I think the answer is kind of like no. I think consciousness is required for thinking in the trivial, obvious sense of what thinking should mean.
What about like somebody who's like, brown out drunk? I've had those people, and they're forming very basic sentences, which is it seems to evoke some type of thought to me. But I probably would say they are on some level conscious, just on a very, very low level.
I recently had a meeting where I got to make the request, and everybody agreed in the meeting to not allow negotiations or consent when somebody was drunk. Well, agreed. Yeah, we'll follow that rule. Anything anybody says while they're drunk doesn't count.
Yeah.
Free pass. Looks like we're almost out of time.
Yes, we are just about out of time. Thank you both. Thank you all. Thank you everybody for coming along with us. We're making a change because we like to just mess with stuff. We will be having this Saturday event, same time, for me, I'm in Pacific time. It's noon on Saturday. On the East Coast, I think Quayd, you're on the East Coast. That's 3 p.m. for you.
Midwest.
Yeah.
No,
It's 1 p.m.
I'm in the Midwest. Sorry.
You're in the Midwest. Okay, well, never mind. But anyway, East Coast, it's 3 p.m. It's noon for me. That's going to be standard on Saturday, same times that we're doing it now. The other one, instead of having it locked on Tuesday nights late, we're going to have it float. We're going to float it throughout the week. And it's going to be all about when there's panelists who are ready to go and like that. So as panelists are available, we will then schedule the midweek show. If you in the audience would like to poke a show, you can hit me up at jugglinglessons@gmail.com. I'll just type that in. And you can tell me what you think we should do. And mostly, I'm going to go with when panelists are available. But
Makes sense.
You can have your input. Thank you all. And anything else? Anything you want to send us out with?
Peace.
Peace.
Yeah.
Peace.
It's been fun. Thanks for having me today.
Thank you.